When I say 10x productivity, sometimes that's a business speak for wink, wink. I only need one out of these 10 engineers. Morals aside, I think that we can still pull out a bit more nuance from this term and say, okay, well, what does it mean to have one engineer do the work of 10? What's the mental strain on that? And what happens if that one engineer is sick? Does your burn rate slow 10 times now? But more importantly, I think a lot of businesses are saying, well, with productivity, we can accomplish other goals. Our engineers can get more sleep, be happier, stay longer, less turnover. Or we can have new offerings. We can dedicate more to R&D. We can really double down on how AI is going to be integrated into our business and outperform our competition. Ultimately, all of us are involved in bringing AI into our lives. And in the course of 5 to 10 years, we're all going to have very different businesses because of it.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Stephanie from Astral here. Today we're joined by Dave Jimison, a true pioneer at the intersection of AI and human creativity. As co-founder and director of innovation at NullWest, Dave brings a unique craftsman's perspective to artificial intelligence. If you've ever enjoyed Spotify, used Vice Media's first iPhone app, or benefited from MTV's recommendation system, you've experienced Dave's work firsthand, which is so cool. These days, he's on a mission to reshape how we think about AI, not as a replacement for human creativity, but as a powerful tool to enhance it. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks for having me.
So happy to have you here. Dave and I have known each other a super long time, so it's always fun to reconnect as our careers evolve and our experience matures. I think our first time working together, you were working on something to do with sound, right? Sound pollution?
Yeah, I was working on sound pollution. Also, I've been thinking about BoozeBot, the robotic bartender that would
Yeah.
at some of the parties we'd go to. And that was also the AI puppeteer, early days one.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. For folks watching, if you've never heard of BoozeBot, the robotic bartender, try to do a Google. I bet it's on YouTube somewhere, right, Dave?
Yeah, somewhere probably.
Somewhere in the annals of history. So Dave and I recently reconnected because you posted a great provocation on LinkedIn where you said that productivity is the wrong metric. Your provocation said that, well, that's what you said. You said you all are focusing on the wrong metric. And as someone building an AI tools, I personally see how efficiency can enable meaningful work, but can also feel hollow. And you had a lot to say about this. So I'm curious, what metrics should we be using to evaluate AI's real impact?
Yeah, so I think when we use the term productivity, we are referencing a lot of things that if we stop at productivity, we're missing some of the nuance that's really going to help us accomplish our goals. So I think the most obvious use of productivity is in efficiency. When I say 10x productivity, sometimes that's a business speak for wink, wink. I only need one out of these 10 engineers. Morals aside, I think that we can still pull out a bit more nuance from this term and say, okay, well, what does it mean to have one engineer do the work of 10? What's the mental strain on that? What are the labor aspects we're missing that we need to integrate in? And what happens if that one engineer is sick? Does your burn rate slow 10 times now? But more importantly, I think a lot of businesses are saying, well, with productivity, we can accomplish other goals. Our engineers can get more sleep, be happier, stay longer, less turnover. Or we can have new offerings. We can dedicate more to R&D. We can really double down on how AI is going to be integrated into our business and outperform our competition. And I think just by moving that metric from productivity as a buzzword to a bit more of applied terminology, you're able to really unpack the way that AI is actually benefiting your company. Ultimately, all of us are involved in bringing AI into our lives. And in the course of 5 to 10 years, we're all going to have very different businesses because of it.
Absolutely. And I think that I was happy to see your provocation for that reason. It's important for us to push on these things while we're still in building mode. So you've thought deeply about human in the loop systems. First, can we just start with the definition? What is a human in the loop system? And can you offer an example?
Yeah, so I think human in the loop systems are a terminology in AI processes where if you think about the sort of input to the output, where you're using AI in that there's a human somewhere within that loop, either adding information, verifying information, or doing processing in it. So it's not a purely autonomous system. There's a human in there. And this is obviously very common, and it's even suspected sometimes where you see AI robots at events. There might be people suspect that there's humans in there, and it's not a negative process. It's actually quite important because again, I'm going to go to nuance. There's a lot of work that's involved in humans that you don't get if you just try to do a direct mapping. If you slowly migrate humans in through the AI process, you're going to find the best balance between the two. So back in 2015, 2016, I was working on an AI solution in the travel space. And one of our clients was the biggest provider of independent travel agents. If you know anything about that, travel agents have to do a lot of data lookup, and they have to deal with a lot of sort of human issues, sometimes in crisis mode. I missed this flight. I need to get home to my family. You don't want to totally pull that out because that's something people pay for, it's a service they want. However, there's a lot of AI integrations that we were able to do to take a lift off of there. So obviously getting the conversation going, taking in information from the client and bringing that forward to the human in a way that they can either type it in or click a quick response. So you're essentially creating a hybrid of the human and the AI to optimize on the solution.
I love that. We talk at Astral, we've been talking about AI in the loop, but same concept where you're blending AI to take the sort of more automatable tasks off people's plates so that people can step up and lean in where their unique ingenuity, creativity, vision is really essential and powerful. Like in the story you shared, I think also empathy probably.
Yeah, empathy is a huge one. It's important.
Yeah. So for organizations wrestling with ethical concerns about AI, what does meaningful human AI collaboration actually look like in practice? Is it what
That's
you
a
just
very tough one.
described? Or, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a great answer or product to roll in that solves ethics, unfortunately. But I do think that giving your humans agency to be involved is going to benefit everyone. People that have been working in a career for 10, 20 years, they have a lot to add to it, and they want to feel like they're part of the transformation. And I think that that's going to get a long way in terms of developing a better product, a more competitive product. And ultimately, even if you are going to have to do some redundancies in your staff, you're also helping them feel like they are part of a new transformation where they can maybe get other jobs. So I think that this is something that we're doing at NullWest, and I find it's really an important part is just AI advocacy and training for the overall staff of companies.
Yeah, I love that. I love including not just doing a top-down, uber efficient 1984 style rollout, but really co-designing or co-implementing these processes. I love that. So in a recent conversation with me, you made this really spot on point about the early web that really stuck with me. And you said how no one could have predicted that a character limited text platform, Twitter, would become $1 billion company and reshape digital communication, which is funny and so true. What unexpected possibilities do you think that we're not yet seeing with AI because of the overfocus on efficiency or productivity?
Yeah, well, I think one that I'm really excited about is accessibility.
Mm.
So we now can use generative AI to produce content. And you're with the great remixing work Astral is doing, of course, you're being able to provide that in different formats for people. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. Accessibility is not just for the visually impaired, as we often think about in early ADA compliance, but it also has to do with cognitive impairment, which we're going to see a lot more in our aging population. The baby boomers are people that rely on the internet to do processing. They're being targeted by criminal organizations, and their cognitive abilities are declining. So just think about AI that's no longer producing static websites where everybody has to consume the same material, but are able to take in the unique capabilities of the viewer and reorganize that information for them. Once we start to do that for accessibility, I think that we'll start to see it actually play out for the end consumer as well. So they'll start to be like, Here's the things you're interested in. You already read about these articles. Maybe there'll be new news articles. This is like kind of future stuff, but I think that the accessibility is a really low-hanging fruit.
I love that. That's definitely some of the early experiments we were doing were with a healthcare group out of Manchester. And it was really fun. What we were doing was exploring translating the very kind of wonky educational pamphlets they'd been creating for their pre-diabetic or recently diagnosed as diabetic patients and using the AI to translate them into their local dialect and also at the reading level that many of the people who were their patients were at. So it was amazing and remarkable to think about what transformation looks like when you're actually meeting people where they are with information that they can actually consume.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah. So, okay, we've as I said in my intro, you've built everything from early versions of the Spotify's Year in Review to AI-driven tools for service providers. What's your playbook for helping clients see past immediate efficiency gains to identify truly transformative AI opportunities?
Yeah, I think I've been doing this for a while because really my job is straddling the arts, humanities, and the tech and helping your companies, often bricks and mortar, really understand how to navigate that. And it starts with core desires, like working through and elucidating what those core desires are. And then a UX prototyping tool I like to use a lot is Wizard of Oz, which is you, rather than just start building Wizard of Oz, you prototype things, you have a human in there, and you start to play out what are the capabilities and what you can do. And then a final area that I like to use with clients is open-ended play. This is where I will do a workshop or something to let them just experiment and see what emerges. There's humans are really good at divergent thinking, and this is something that I don't know if AI is going to totally be able to do, where I can go for a walk and see a bird land on a tree, and it'll make me think differently about an algorithm I'm working on. And there's that knowledge transfer that happens. I love that process in shaking up the models around AI because, and this gets to another part, is you really want to meet your clients in the language and metaphors that they use because it's vital that they grok what AI is and how it works so they can better communicate to you what their vision is for its implementation.
God, that's so smart. I tell everyone the story. I was having a conversation with Claude a couple months ago and 100% on the divergent thinking. In fact, Claude kept saying to me, you were like, I don't understand, like, what are you doing here? I kept being like, oh, I read this cool science fiction book that talked about that thing. And that was a big aha for me was that, well, these machines are incredible at synthesizing information. They're not incredible at the expansive or divergent thinking. And that was like really important for me as a builder in the space and someone who's thinking about business applications in the space, and which is how is this tool useful and how is this tool not useful and where is human creativity so important.
Yeah, I love that. And just going a little deeper into it, I think as we start to explore human cognition versus artificial cognition, that phenomenological approach of we're a being in the world that has all these perceptions and things going on. And
Yeah.
that's whatever products we want have to be mapped to that. I think that's really only going to be pulled forward from lived experience and from divergent thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, agree. Agree hard on the lived experience thing. That's the other place I've definitely seen the AI fall short. People talk about this all the time with the bias stuff as well.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so what does productivity mean to you today? We hear the word get thrown around a lot, but with US still one of the most productive countries, and yet America still feels overworked and overwhelmed. Actually, I heard a stat yesterday that we have since the 60s, we have consistently been working less, but we talk about feeling overworked and overwhelmed more. Like we work
Oh,
significantly less than we did in the 60s.
yeah.
So maybe we need a new definition.
Yeah, maybe. That's a really interesting statistic. And I think productivity is ultimately framed by like it's a top-down approach often because it's business oriented, as it should be. I would wonder how AI could be, how we could throw in another word there that's valuable, resonant, and also broad. The one that I've been thinking about is liberty. That's important.
Mm.
And I wonder if we can do that in conjunction with productivity. How does AI liberate me to choose the work that I find rewarding and pass off the work that isn't? How does it liberate my company to better serve clients and build products that everyone loves? It's broad, it's a little like feel goody, but I think that again, I think it's important to, as we go down this road of integrating AI into our lives, it's really important to have that core foundation and framing.
Yeah. And this is where my human brain is like, oh, this reminds me of that book it's called To Like the Lightning. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's a science fiction book. It's incredible, but it imagines a world where we've been liberated, because of universal basic income, people, when they work, they define it as a vocation. So it's a following, it's a thing they do because they can't help themselves, because they love it and they're passionate about it. And I don't think it uses the word liberation or liberty, but that is the point it's getting to. And I love that as an opportunity for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I might check
Definitely
out
not about productivity.
that.
Which is also, no, a key business metric is always impact, right? What is the change that you're driving? And if productivity is the wrong metric because that's the process metric, then what's the change? And maybe it's liberty. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I think it is. And I think liberty, it opens you when you think of liberty, especially if you believe, I think we both do that, when you're liberated with time, you actually pursue other projects. You're still productive, but in other ways. That
Mm,
productivity might be more divergent, it might be more adaptable. And in the end, it might give your organization better resilience as the entire world is really adapting quickly.
yeah, that's an important, resilience is another important one too.
Yeah.
So, on a personal level, I'm curious, what has technology freed you up to focus more of your own energy on? And basically, how are you optimizing your own job or life using things like AI and automation?
Yeah, well, I've been really getting obsessed with the concept of scaffolding, which is, of course, so important. As a software developer, we try to optimize our use of AI to provide the best capabilities. And a lot of that is really rethinking how we create the scaffolding for our AI to build things and what the touch points and the rubrics are for examining whether AI has performed well and how to engage our clients to make sure that we're doing those. That's been really fun because you can literally set up a test-driven document. Like it's just like, here's the things I want you to build and watch that kind of happen. So that's been on the technical side. On the personal side, I wrote a mobile app that lets me talk to my phone while I'm going on long walks. And
Mm.
it just records it and then it takes notes and does summarization. I had done this for businesses recently, and it was like a note-taking app that did action items for a company, Zembly, that I worked for. And the fun part was seeing the notes of that, like interstitials of conversation or like things that were happening. People just, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
shooting the crap. And so it made me think, oh, like I like to go on walks. I like to do this thinking, and I'm always coming up with ideas. Why don't I just talk to AI and let me summarize it? So I've been doing that with like a call and response, and it's really fun because it's like a structured imagination exercise.
God, that's so cool. I also my brain like is wild when I'm on long walks. So I feel like actually it'd be fun to go on a long walk with you. Let's see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, let's make that happen. That'd be great.
Yeah, I would love that. One of us has got to get on a plane, but then we'll do it. All right. So closing thoughts. We like to make these interviews as actionable as possible. What is your number, because we're so productive? What is your number one tip for the Astral audience on how to make the most of AI to empower their creativity and enable them to focus on more meaningful work?
I think retaining a sense of play
Mm,
with AI and really trying to get your whole organization to engage in that together, whether it's just a hackathon or it's asking people to show cool things in conversations, is
mm.
really opening a lot of doors to potential. And it's bringing some of the concerns that might be going on out to the open, as well as creating new opportunities.
I love that. That's a beautiful closing thought. Thank you, Dave, so much. It's been great to have you today.
It's been a lot of fun.